my name is Caitlin Keh, and I will be talking to you about two short stories that I've read by the author Joyce Carol Oates. So Joyce Carol Oates is known for really dark and creepy writing, and I'd say you can especially see that in the first short story that I'm going to talk about, called Where Are You Going? Where Have You Been? So Joyce Carol Oates was inspired to write it by the song It's All Over Now, Baby Blue by Bob Dylan, as well as the serial killer that was running rampant at the time, Charles Schmidt. And Charles Schmidt, he basically manipulated teenage girls to get away with his crimes. So moving on to the story, Where Are You Going? Where Have You Been? Is about Connie, a 15-year-old girl, and she goes out with her friend one day to the movies and the mall. So instead of going to the movies and the mall, she and her friend go across the highway to a diner where the older kids hang out. And they find some guys and they hang out with them and have a great time, and eventually they both get picked up by her friend's father. And the next day, Connie's family, they go to a barbecue together, and Connie told her family that she wanted to stay home, so they all went without her. And Connie, she just hangs out in her room, listening to music and having some fun, and then this guy pulls up to her driveway and she goes down to see who it is. She finds out it's this guy named Arnold Friend. And she's initially interested in this guy, but eventually she gets really creeped out because she looks at his mannerisms and the way he's dressed. It's like the cool kids, but he seems like a 30-something-year-old to her, so she's like, nah, I ain't having this. And he also talks about some really personal details about her. He describes how her family's at a barbecue right now. What stranger knows that? No one. No one should know that when you first meet them. So she's really creeped out. And she tries going to call the police, but Arnold Friend ends up manipulating her into not calling the police and coming towards him and going with him to who knows where. And then it ends up working, and the story just ends that way. And it's like, what? Oh, it's so creepy. I was really unsettled with it. I really didn't like Arnold Friend with how creepy it was, and it was just very off-putting for me, and I didn't really like it as much. But the next story, Blue Bearded Lover, I really liked because it was not as creepy, and it was actually really interesting. So Blue Bearded Lover is about Bluebeard and his young wife, and he brings her to his house, and he tells her not what room she can go in and what rooms she cannot, and he tells her about this forbidden room that she is never allowed to enter. And so he tells her to that he's gonna leave on a journey and he won't be back for a long while, and he leaves her with this gold key that's stained with blood or really old stains. And she's like, okay, come on. Okay, I'll wait for you here. And she puts the gold key into her boobs. And in the story, you can see that the young woman is quite manipulative, and she's trying to manipulate Bluebeard into becoming her lover because she knows that Bluebeard brings his wives into his house and murders them when they find out what is in the forbidden room. So the young woman manipulates him into loving her by not going into the forbidden room and waiting for him. And so when he comes back home, he finds that the forbidden room is still closed and that she still has the gold key. And so he swears his love to her and ends up just having her as his wife and his final wife, and they end up having a lot of babies together. So I really like that one because it's not as eerie as the other one. And I say I would recommend to read both these short stories. The first one because if you want a really creepy and off-putting story, I would recommend Where Are You Going, Where Have You Been? But if you want like a really interesting, manipulative story, I would recommend Blue-Bearded Lover. And that is my 2 cents for the day, and thank you.